it's so nice to be back again and to see some of the faces I saw last week and a few new ones, and a few that I've seen from other workshops. I wanted to just take a chance to play a little bit of music up front and just a little meditation for you all to be able to just enjoy a little bit, and then maybe we'll do some things that are less enjoyable, like get into talking about the creative process or whatever needs to happen. This is if you would like the words, it's on page 4 of the packet that Ari can put in the chat right now. Are you able to open that up? Okay, great. So this is Tov Lehodot. It's from Psalm 92, and it says it's good to be able to give thanks to God, and Alei Asor we play on the 10-stringed instrument or on the navel or meditate with the harp. And this is a psalm for Shabbat. You know, back in the days when you had to have harps and all kinds of great instruments in order to properly celebrate Shabbat. I wish that I'd been around for that in the temple. And so this is I don't have a harp, but I'll play the guitar as the harp today.
להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות. להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות. טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון. טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון.
And so you all, if you can want, you can join me either the whole way through if you get it, or just on the repeats of things after you hear it in your ear.
עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור. עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור. טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון. טוב להודות לאדוני שימחתני אדוני בפועלך במעשה ידיך ארנן כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך במעשה ידיך ארנן טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך העליון טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך העליון טילי לה 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 טילי לה 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 אילי לי 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 לא לא טילי מה 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 אילי לי לי לא
Well, thank you. Such a pleasure to be here. How are you all doing?
I'll answer on behalf of the group. We're all doing very well tonight. Thank you.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, sorry. Yeah, and you can all feel free if you want to turn on your cameras and it's so nice to see people's ponam. And for all of us to see it as well, because yeah, we get to feel like we're together a little bit. You don't have to, but it's nice if you can. So, wondered if anybody has any thoughts about this song, Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Let me just share what the words are a little more detail, and then you'll tell me if the song is working. Okay? For what it's about, right? It's good to, and by the way, you can also look up your own translations by going to Sefaria.org and putting in Psalm 92, and you'll get a translation, or you can just look up Psalm 92 and you'll find all kinds of translations. But it's good to give thanks to God through song, L'zamer l'shimcha elyon, to sing to your highest name, right? And the Hagid Baboker Chastecha, to say in the morning how much loving kindness there is in the world, right? But then in the evening time, we know when we go to sleep that we will only wake up because God's existence believes in us, says Amen to us, right? Ve'emunatcha baleilot, right? And it says, Alei asor never. One of the ways that we come to understand these things is by singing and by making beautiful music on our instruments and with our voices, and trying to summon up the beauty of the world around us, which helps us to key into that. And it says, Ki simachtani Adonai b'fa'alecha, because I'm so happy. I've simcha in your works, God. Just looking around in the world and seeing everything that's there and how it magically all comes together. And seeing the works of your hands. And when I do that, aranen, I will burst forth in song, because how could we do anything else? That's the way that that King David functioned. Whenever and all the and or any of the other authors of the Psalms, whenever something struck King David, be it for the great or for the terrible, it was worth singing about. And even the rest of this psalm, like many psalms, it takes a nosedive, and it starts off with something kind of positive, and then you go a little bit further down, and it starts to talk about the terrors of the world, and about the the fact that even a little bit of Jewish haughtiness, that nobody else understands truth like we do, and et cetera, et cetera. And then it comes back at the end. It usually, oftentimes, will make a U shape, and by the end, you get Tzadik katamar yifrach. Maybe. Oh, I just want to sing it. Keres valvanon iske shetulin. So beautiful. Bevet Adonai. We can sing it as in again. Di-di-da, la, 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 di-da, da, dum. Oh, do, 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 do. And it's the great composition from Louis Lewandowski from 150 some years ago in Germany. So this, Jews have been writing music to these ancient psalms for quite a while, and trying to give interpretations of the words. So, so tell me, does this? This is the one that I was singing for. Oh, lo, 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 lo. Di la 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 la. Lo, 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 lo. Oh, ve'odot l'Adonai ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. So is this working? Why don't you write in the chat? What what makes sense to you about the music or what doesn't? Let's hear from you for a second. Ooh, lo, lo, lo. Ooh, lo, 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 lo. Li, la, 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 lo. Ooh, lo, 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 lo. Tov le'odot l'Adonai ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Ki simchtani Adonai b'po'alecha b'ma'aseh yadecha aharonei. Terai liloloi, oh lo 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 lo, di di la 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 la, oh lo lo, di 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 la, do do do. Great. Oh, Howard Mirowitz, I want to hear. Are you playing harmonica? I want to hear that.
We can try unmute Howard if you want. And Howard is one of our locals. He's in our in the singing group. I'm at our show.
Would you play it for a second?
Okay, Howard. Oops, sorry, wrong Howard. Howard, you can unmute here.
Hi. Yeah, I am. It's tough because I've only got, blues harps, and they're all in major keys.
Oh well, start it on the. You have a C harp.
Yeah, that's what I'm playing.
Yeah, so start on the four draw.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah, you got the cross. Oh, it sounds beautiful.
Yeah. Cross harp. It's modal though. I don't think it's minor. But anyway, it's like Fragish.
Yeah, no, I know.
It's Phrygian.
Harmonica, yeah, that's my first instrument is harmonica, and I love hearing it.
You can play Phrygian mode, but it's a little. You don't have all the notes in the scale.
Yeah. Oh, can you play a few more notes?
something like that. I don't
That's
know.
beautiful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's great. Yes, I was just looking through what everybody's saying about this melody that I was playing. It's that some folks are saying that it sounds a little melancholy, or it's not necessarily freilich and up and happy like you might expect for these words. And what I've learned about melodies and harmonies and songs for Shabbat, because this is Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat, is how it starts, is that when we're talking about simcha on Shabbat, about happiness on Shabbat, that it doesn't always mean upbeat and happy. A lot of times it means, it actually means a simcha of the oneg of Shabbat, the simcha of the enjoyment of the spiritual character of Shabbat, right? And so, like many of Yismechu, the way that, the Yismechu b'malchutecha, like it, and sometimes in shuls it's saying Yismechu b'malchutecha shomrei 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 Shabbat korei oneg Shabbat. It's pretty fast, right? And that kind of gets the Yismechu, be happy on Shabbat, right? But the way that they used to sing it, for many of even of your grandparents and great grandparents among the older of you, and my great grandparents and great great grandparents, they used to sing it like this: Yismechu Yismechu b'malchuscha. Yismechu, Yismechu b'malchuscha, shomrei Shabbos v'korei oneg. Anybody recognize this? Shomrei Shabbos v'korei oneg. Mekadeshei Shevi'i Kulam Yis Beyu Veyitangu Mituvecha Veyitangu Mituvecha O Vashevi Rawatsi Savo Vekidashto Oy Chemdas Yamim Oso Karasava Secher Lemaaseh Bereshis Chemdas Yamim Asagaras Avazecher Lemaaseh Bereshis Ayayavavayomamamai. So I love those melodies. They're very sweet and they're deliberate, and I don't find it so mournful. I find it very, even though there's a little bit of mourning in it, it's they're sweet and they're slow and they're like a delight of the heart and of the soul. So I hope you'll take my slow songs in that light. That's what I'm, kind of what I'm going for. Let's see what else people said. Yeah, contemplative. Nice. Great. So I would like to play another song for you, if that's okay with you. And this is on page 6. This is the opening psalm. The opening part of Psalm 116. That it appears in Hallel, but it's not sung all the time. In Hallel, it's only sung some of the time because it's a little bit too sad to be sung all the time. And let me just tune up for 1 second. Good. So, yeah, if you take a look there, it starts with the words ahavti, and again from the Psalms. Here's one that's a little bit less pleasant right from the get-go. Okay, the music might be a little bit pleasant, but the words they're not, as opposed to Tov Lehodot, where it just starts talking really beautifully from the beginning about the meditations with the harp. Here, this one is saying, God. It even might be a little bit sarcastic, depending on how you read it. God, I love the way that you listen to my voice when I call out. All I have to do is call out, and you just turn your ear to me, don't you? Right? And it could be quite genuine. God, I love the way that you turn your ear when I call out. It's amazing, or it could be, like the classic Yiddish thing, like just depending on how you inflect it, it can be sarcastic and just, I really love the way you listen. Right, and then it says, "Afafuni chevlei mavet." I was caught up in the strings of death. Mitzarei sheol mitzauni. I found myself in the straits of hell. Just like in the pits. Tzaravi agon emsa. There was tzoros all around me, all kinds of sorrow, and in fact, that's even where I think the author finds him or herself at that very moment. Emsa, I'm in this place. Uvashem Adonai akra, and so I will call out to you, God. Right? Ana Adonai maltan nafshi. Chanun Adonai v'tzadik. Aren't you that one that has chanun, that has chen, gives us grace, and has compassion on us? And it goes on like that for a little while. So it's not, at the end it says, but just the same, I might have been speaking too quickly when I said that all humankind is a bunch of liars. So there's it's actually quite rich, and it's not like super pleasant. It reflects life and what people really go through in the battles and the trials of life, and I like that. I used to try to truncate these things out, like we talked about last time a little bit, like just get rid of a certain piece of something, and now I actually like those parts of the Psalms that are rough.
אהבתי כי ישמע השם אס קולי תחנוני כי תעוז נורי ובימי יקרא עפפוני חבלי מוות ומצרי שאול מצאוני צרה ויגון אמצא ובשם השם אקרא אנא השם מלטה נפשי חנון Hashem Yitzhadi Elokeinu Merachem Shomer P'tayim Hashem Daloisi Eli Yehoshia Shuvi Nafshi Limnuchaichi Oh Ki Hashem Gamal Alaychi Ki Chilatzta Nafshi Mimaves Eseini Mindima Oh Esragli Midechi Oh Lord, Lord, Lord Esalei Lifnei Hashem Be'arzo Zachayim Emanti ki Adaber Aniti Meod Ani Amarti Bechofzi Kol Adam Kozev Tilo Ilila Ililo
That was great. If you have a second, we have some questions. I figure I would pass over. So one question was about your pronunciation. You're doing the Ashkenazi taf, saf instead of taf. Is that something that you grew up with? Do you always sing that way? There was a question about your intention in that pronunciation.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think I don't always sing that way. I sing that way sometimes. Usually when my eyes close, I go into Ashkenazi pronunciation, because when my eyes close and I start, you'll see it with me, when I start to get into it as if it's davening, then I connect with the old people who used to teach me how to daven. And when I was growing up, there were a number of older folks who were, of my grandparents' age or a little bit older even, and they all spoke with their prayers in Ashkenazis, and it had a sweetness and a character to it that whenever I hear it, it's like, that really feels to me like deep davening. And when I get into a davening place, I almost naturally go into that language just because I associate it with the kind of the sweetness. Usually when I open up my eyes though and I look around, and I see an Israeli flag or something, I'm like, okay, right. And then, or if I'm in a certain shul where I know people understand much better with the hard tafs, I try to go that route. But the more I get carried away, the more I just forget where I am and just start singing in sort of like my davening mambalashan, my davening like native tongue. So I hope that's helpful. I like, but the answer is both are good. And it's yes, and and there are times where I mix it up even within a sentence, and sometimes people really hate me for that. At least stay consistent. Yeah, are there more questions? I love.
Thank you for answering that. There was a question I saw about what happens when your Nigunim now, like they've gone national. I don't know, international, but certainly national. And what happens when you're diving at a shul and all of a sudden you hear your nigun being used? Does that happen? And what's your reaction to that?
Well, it's really fun. I mean, a lot of times I think that these melodies they're somewhat owned by me, because in some cases I wrote them, but they're not at all owned by me either, because really I was just reaching into the river of song of inspiration that's kind of flowing through my head, and grabbing some notes which turn into songs. In some ways, I'm just operating as a channel. And so it's nice though to come to show up somewhere and realize that they're singing songs, but my favorite things are always when somebody comes up to me and after I sing one of my songs and tells me that I'm singing it wrong, which is, the classic Jewish thing is, and it always makes me happy, because and usually I don't mention that I wrote the song. I'm just like, oh, it goes that way. Okay, great. Because then that the song has become traditional. Once it's lost its or one time I was somewhere and a 16-year-old came up to me after I had sung a certain song which was called Bina's Niggin. But he didn't know that. It goes like yum ba da dum da da dim ba da da dum da da dee da da yum ba da dum da da dim ba I la di da da dum ba yum ba da dum da da dim ba si da da la di da da yum ba da dum da da dim ba rum ba di da da di la di yum ba da dum dum da 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 yum bum di da 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 di da 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 la la da da di da 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 di da 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 hi da di da dum ho. So I was singing this song for quite a while, and a 16-year-old came up to me and said, in Chicago, and said, "Oh, you must have gone to BBYO." And I said, "Well, I did go to BBYO, come to think of it, in high school. But why do you say that?" And he said, "Because we sing that song all the time at BBYO. So you must have learned it there too." Right. And so, yeah, it's like one of those situations where it's like in my head, I was like, well, I wrote the song, but, on the other hand, it's so much better when the music is just in the world and being sung by people, because that's really what it's for. And I think kind of what my purpose here is just to kind of collect notes and offer them as bouquets of flowers, to the world, which can then take it and do what it will with it. And it, you kind of pass it along. And that's the same spirit in which many of my teachers have given me all of their notes. And I've just wholeheartedly taken them and done what I'm going to do with it. And so I hope also that the next generation will come up with all kinds of more good ideas. So, yeah, more questions. I love these.
You're getting just lots of praise in the chat. People are really enjoying your personality and your sharing and the message that you're sharing with us, which is great. I think Howard Mirowitz, the one who sang who played the harmonica, asked a question about what do the original psalms sound like? Do we know? And I don't think we do know. I think people have guessed as to maybe what the the melodies were like, but I'll turn the question. Have you studied that at all? Is that something you're interested in, or you just want to write the music that you want to write to the psalms?
I love that question. And yeah, we have no idea. Music was started to be written down as early as 800 years ago in broadly speaking. And in Jewish music, it wasn't written down until about 400 to 500 years ago. And some musicologists might debate this a little bit. And it wasn't until 110, 115 years ago that things started to be recorded. And so we know things about the music of the temple and of the era the Psalms were written. Like the Psalms themselves talk about all the instruments that are played while these songs are being sung, like Psalm 150, where the instruments just explode. The whole psalm is about the instruments that are being played. But we don't know what it actually sounded like. And there are, I like to think of them as Jewish musical nationalists who like to think that Jews invented world music because basically we had the music of the temple, and the church fathers took that and turned it into Gregorian chant, and the Gregorian chant turned into the classical music eventually after the Renaissance, and therefore the Jews, we made it all. And I like to think that all of us, all these cultures, and I know this for sure, along the line, all of the cultures in the world are all offering their songs, right? And basically, like, this is a teaching that I know from Rav Kook, who taught that each of us has that there's the song that's being sung by each individual, and then there's the song that's being sung by the family or the tribe or the people. Am Yisrael, in our case, is the people of Israel, and then there's the songs that are being sung by all of humanity. And then beyond the songs of humanity, there's the songs that are being sung by all of creation. And those are the songs of the frogs and of the oceans and of the forests, the songs of the wheat fields and of the birds and of the fish. Those are all the songs that were talked about in Perek Shirah, which used to be in every Siddur, where we just talk about 86 different parts of the world and what they sang. Funnily enough, many of the things that they were quoted as singing were lines from Psalms. But that's, of course, just a translation into Psalm language for our benefit, because we don't know exactly what all of their songs sound like. We just know that they're singing. And so, we have our place in that, and our songs kind of flow into the music of the world and back and forth. That makes sense. So let me just play a song. Here's one that's not from the Psalms. It's on page 4, and it's the first song that we might sing any given morning. Modeh ani lefanecha.
מודה אני לפניך מלך חי וקיים. 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 שחזרת בי נשמתי בחמלה שחזרת בי נשמתי בחמלה רבה אמונתך לא 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 מודעני לפניך מלך חי וקיים מודעני לפניך המלך חי וקיים Oh, lo, 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 lo. Ooh. Ooh, lo, lo. Ooh, na, na, na.
Very nice. So one question I see that I think I was asked you as well a little bit before when we were getting ready for the program tonight is, do you have a favorite place to daven? Like if you can go daven anywhere in the United States or the world, is there a shul or a shtibel? Is there a particular shul you like to go to?
Well, I grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I've been to shuls all over the world and seen and been a part of all kinds of amazing davening. And there's still no davening that I have found that is more powerful than Rabbi Michal Twersky's davening in Milwaukee. That's the Twersky shul and he was the one who married my wife and I. And my wife Molly grew up in that community, and my grandfather was a kind of a Reform Jew who became a quasi chassid of the Twerskys for about 40 years, and the kind that drove across town to the Hasidic shul, and thought it was so beautiful. And at the end of his life, my grandfather, when he was 84, he went back to the Reform shul, and he reported to me. He said, Yosela, he said, the Reformnikim, the Reformniks, this is the real MS. This is the MS. He said, this is the real thing right here. And which I thought was amazing, coming like from after a bunch of years of the at the Hasidic shul. And there's truth everywhere is my takeaway. That's what I learned from my grandfather. But some of the best davening that I ever heard was right there with Michal Twersky, is a sweet singer. And you might have heard El Adon al kol ha'ma'asim Baruch Mavoirach V'yichol neshama v'magono v'tuva. So that's a Michal Twersky melody. And a number of his melodies have made it out into the world. And I was lucky enough as a teenager to get to spend time hearing him and his older brother Abraham Twersky singing together. Just amazing harmonies, and that's part of my musical neshama and always will be. So yeah, this is so nice. I feel so lucky to get to be with you all tonight. Yeah, the Twerskys are part of the Chernobyl line. Hornestable, Chernobyl.
There's another question about, you've done concerts in a variety of venues. You actually recorded. If people look at your recordings, your video recordings on YouTube, there's one, for example, where it looks like it's very cold wherever you are recording. Do you have a favorite place you like to record? Like, is there a venue that we shall know about? So when we send Carl Teeter out to record his next CD, he goes there?
Oh yeah, well, there's, I don't know how many of you are performing and recording musicians, but when you do this, you get all kinds of situations. And this year, the year that I think you're talking about, where it looked really cold, was the year that we were in a very old synagogue in Brooklyn and recording there in their choir loft that we had cleaned out, the Kane Street Synagogue, and where I still lead High Holiday Davening. And about 5 hours before the recording session started, the boiler broke, which is, par for the course in old buildings, but nevertheless not what you want to have happen. Now, luckily for the band, my brother, who's a drummer, is also a boiler mechanic. And so he taught himself how to fix boilers in large buildings, and then did that for a profession as well. And so he, as the room was going down and down in temperature, he was running downstairs, and he'd do a little tweak, and then he'd run back up, play the drums on a song, and then he'd run back down, try to fix it again, and then he'd run back up and play the drums on the next song. And so we recorded the album like that. But meanwhile, everybody was getting into their parkas and then into their huge coats, and it was a freezing New York winter. That's other times we've overheated. It's rarely just right. That's how it goes. Yeah. So let me sing one more song for you all, and then I'm also happy to have as many questions as you all want. But I really like being with you all. So this is Sheba Shif Leinu is on the last page. And I sang this a bit recently, but it might be fun for you all to sing. I wanted to invite you all to go to joeyweisenberg.com and sign up, subscribe to the master classes that we have in Jewish song. Come do it right now. You're invited, because then we get to continue the relationship for in the years to come, and I'll know who you are, and we can all be a part of the singing community that we have going on there. We have things like this all the time, and it'd be lovely to have you all there, or as many of you as would like to join. All right. Sheba Shif Leinu is from Psalm 136. And it talks about when I was in a low place, God, you remember, or when we were in a low place, you remembered us. Because your loving kindness is without bounds, and it goes on forever. Vayifrakenu mitzarenu, you separated us from our narrowness, from our confinement, from Mitzrayim, from Egypt, from all of the tough sorrows, because your kindness goes on forever, God. So this song starts really low and it gets pretty high. And feel free to jump in with singing. Even though I can't hear you, I can kind of feel it metaphysically. Sheba Shif Leinu Zachar Lanu Ki Leolam Chasto. Sheba Shif Leinu Zachar Lanu Ki Leolam Chasto. Vayifrekenu
mitzarenu ki le'olam chasto vayifrekenu mitzarenu ki le'olam chasto di-di-la-la-la-di-da-dam a-da-da-di-da-di-dam ay-da-da-di-da-da-da-da oh a-da-di-la-la-di-la-la-di-da-da-di-da-di-dam oh da-da-di-da-da-da-da-dam a-da-dam-ba-di-da-dam-bam oh da-da-da-da-dam da-da-di-da-dam oh da-da-da di-dam-ba-di-da-dam oh da-da-da-da-da-dam-ba-da-di-da-dam oh da-da-dam di-da-dam-bam-ba-da-da-dam.
So this is the low part. Almost every nigun in the world starts low, it gets a little higher, then it gets a little higher, and then it comes back down. If there's 3 sections, it comes back down through the B section. And that's the way that the angels climb the ladder of song, Olim v'yordim, and they come back down. Just the same as they go up, they come back down, and then it starts over, and we connect the heavens and the earth through our songs.
Shemesh yifaleinu zachar lanu ki le'olam chasto Shemesh yifaleinu zachar lanu ki le'olam chasto vayifrekenu nitzarenu ki le'olam chasto vayifrekenu mitzarenu ki le'olam chasto di-di-la-la di-di-la-da-da di-da-da-da-da-di-da oh da da di da 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 oh di da di da 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 oh da da di da oh di da 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 oh da dam bam di da da dam da 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 oh da di da da di da dam oh di da dam ram ba da 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 oh da la di la lam ah da da da.
Well,
Very
thank you.
nice. But I'm going to hold you over for just a few minutes if you have a second, because there's some
Yeah.
questions for you. But
Great.
this is awesome. It is being recorded, everybody. Howard Miritz is very worried that my wife, Amy, who's a chazan, is missing all this, but she will see this. And she's also writing her thesis, Howard, so she'll get there. So people are getting a lot out of it musically and really enjoying the discussion and your answers. So it's something we talked about. You emailed me. I wanted to know, who are your non-Jewish musical inspirations? And because you gave me some names I did not know, at least 2 out of the 3. Can you share quickly about that? Then I have one last question before we wrap up.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, when I was growing up, the things that I heard a lot, I heard from my parents, who, first of all, by far my biggest musical inspirations are my parents. My mother was a great musician, a piano player, and my father was a great flamenco guitar player. And I grew up hearing my mother play Bach all the time, and I'd fall asleep under the grand piano while all of the basses and the melodies were rolling out. Etc. Is just endless sequences of Bach. I mean, so it's hard to beat Bach. And my dad's playing just powerful rhythmic music. I got all my rhythm from listening to my dad play. And of course, I didn't really notice them playing music until I was 18. Like many of us don't realize things about our parents until we're already halfway out the door. And then I suddenly realized, oh my gosh, what a what a gift that I just, it's just there, so you don't notice it. And the other thing that in Milwaukee heard a lot was the blues musicians who were coming up out of Chicago. And so my favorite of all was Buddy Guy. And I don't know if you've heard Buddy Guy, but totally amazing musician. And he would always be he'd just start to go crazy. These are kind of the kind of musicians I heard playing music like that in Milwaukee, and I learned a lot from those musicians, who many of whom are not famous. They're just great local musicians who are very generous and deeply felt music, and maybe you know some of them in your communities as well. Who just offer so much, and they taught me how to play on stage when I was 12 years old. We'd get up in the blues bars and play with them, and they showed me how to do it. And I'm still reaping those lessons. So it's the blues, but it's like I said, on the other side of town, in a world that never touched the blues bars, was the Hasidic side of town. And they were singing very different music, but it was also music that was deeply from the heart. And that's the It's really, the Hasidic singing is very similar to the blues. Very few notes and everything full of heart. And so, that's in short, that's where I get that's where I learned my craft was locally in Milwaukee, although I then studied it in New York and performed for years, but at its heart, that's where it is.
So last two, you have the Rising Song Institute. Do you invite people, like, when it's safe, to come to New York and spend a week with you singing, or is it like a few days? Tell us about that program, and then I have my last request.
Yeah, we in the end of December, we were supposed to have hundreds of people in New York, and we canceled it. We wanted to do it in person, but every year we have a really great intensive where hundreds of people come and sing together, and it's like the most powerful thing. Just huge walls of beautiful harmony, and what I like about it is that lots of people. It's really quite intergenerational, and we have folks in their 80s and 90s, and we have lots of young folks, and everybody's singing together, and it's one of those rare moments where I just really feel like, okay, this is really good. and so I hope you'll all get involved in whatever way you'd like to with the Rising Song Institute of Hadar. For the time being, we don't have in-person things, but again, want to invite you to join online through joeyweisenberg.com just to check out our master classes. And we have lots of webinars and sessions online like this one, but we do it frequently, and it would be glad to have you be a part of it. And then when we can get together in person, or I can come out there, we'll do it.
So how about, can we end with Shochin Ad, since I see Carl there, and it's something that we use now because it came to our community and it came to Temple Bethel, and just think it'd be a nice way to end, and then we'll call it a night.
I'd love to do that. Okay. So Shochin Ad, this is from Shabbat morning davening, and talks about the songs that are being sung all the way up in the high heavens. Shochin Ad Marom, God who's up there hearing the songs and singing along, in a sense. And it goes down and says, and then the angels sing, and below that, Befi Yesharim Tis Halal, there's a Hallel in amongst all of the tzaddikim and the Hasidim, the great holy people. They have their songs that are kind of connecting the heavens and the earth. And then the rest of us, Uvamakalot Rivavot Amcha Beis Yisrael, it says the rest of us, we all are gathered together. Uvamakalot is sort of gigantic choir of humanity that sings praises of God by our very nature.
Befi Yesharim Tisalam Ubekerem Kedoshim Tiskadash Shochinad Marom Vekadosh Shemo Shochinad Marom Vekadosh Shemo Uvilshon Chasidim Tisroemam Uvekerem Kedoshim Tiskadash Shochinad Marom Eloi V'kadosh Shemo Shochinad Marom V'kadosh Shemo.
So if you all can join me if you know these words, otherwise just the lai 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 is perfect. Uvemakalot Rivevo Yamamama Yamoy Yadadam Yadadadadam Ololo Shochinad Marom Well, thanks so much. And thank you for
Thank you.
having me here. Look, I hope you all will join next week as Deborah Sexmans brings more music for you all. And looking forward.
So you'll recognize Deborah if you haven't met her already. She's in many of the videos. I don't know if she's in all of your videos when you're doing with the group, but she seems to be prevalent there and very involved in your music making process and involved in the Rising song program. So I'm looking forward to having Deborah with us for the next 2 weeks. Hopefully you'll join us next Wednesday for some more music. It's a great way to end the day. I'm going to go home and have dinner with my children, and some of you are going to go to bed, I guess. I don't know. Whatever you want to do. Be
Hope
safe.
to see you all soon, and feel free to join more. See you soon.
Bye, everybody. Take care. Good night. Good night, Ahuva. Good night, Dahlia and Sheldon Podwall. Susan and Sheldon Stern. I see you guys. Haymans, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Haymans.
Good night, everybody.